Hello and welcome to the Film Pulse Podcast. This is episode number 413. My name's Adam Patterson. With me today, we got Kevin Rakestraw. Hey, Kevin.
Hi.
Now, this week on the show, we'll be taking a look at the grimy eco-horror film Gaia. We'll also be going over some of what we're watching on the watch list and going over this week's new releases in theaters, VOD, and Blu-ray. Thank you so much for joining us this week. Please remember to review us on iTunes if you get a moment. That'd be super helpful. Just one bit of housekeeping. The new Saved by the 90s should be dropping this week. I think last week I said it was going to be dropping, and I just didn't quite finish the edit. So it's coming out this week for sure.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm almost done with the edit.
Okay.
So it'll definitely 100%. I'm not fooling. 100% out this week. I'm like 90% done. Okay, so
all right.
It's definitely coming out.
Watch something happen.
Kevin, let's talk about Gaia, shall we?
Yeah, let's.
So this is one that I talked about very briefly, I think, a couple months ago. It played a festival. I can't remember what festival. Shit.
One of the festivals.
Let me look. It played South by Southwest.
Oh, there you
earlier
go.
this year. I have a synopsis here. An injured forest ranger on a routine mission is saved by two off-the-grid survivalists. What is initially a welcome rescue grows more suspicious as the son and his renegade father reveal a cultish devotion to the forest. This is directed by Jacko Bauer. Now, I do have a written review for this up on the site. So, Kevin, we'll start it with you. What were your initial impressions of Gaia?
I wish I would have remembered that. I would have looked it up and read it before we recorded, because I vaguely remember you talking about this one, and then it became quite clear that I do in fact remember you talking about this one because of the creature designs in this movie, which makes this is a tricky one for me in that sense, because this feels like it's just taking a bunch of ideas that already exist and have been done elsewhere and then just kind of mashing them together.
I mean,
because the creature designs in this movie are like to the T exactly like something else.
Yeah, so I've said it in my review. I think a lot of people have said this. The creatures in this are almost lifted directly from The Last of Us. Like, there's just there's no way that they weren't influenced by that game.
No, it's impossible, because A, they look exactly the same. B, they behave like exactly like the game. I mean, like, it's just like they used that and just brought it to life. Like, there's no way. And it's tough because of me knowing that, because of me playing that game. I just, as soon as it happens and anytime they're shown, which unfortunately is not that often, but, when they are shown, you're just kind of like, well, you just stole this whole idea. And like, I can't divorce myself from that.
No.
Like, there's a part of me that wonders, like, what would I have thought of this movie if I never played Last of Us, or, I don't really have that knowledge of the game.
Yeah, I was able to divorce myself. I mean, the similarities are there. It's undeniable. I mean, especially if you're a fan of the Last of Us series, like, you'll immediately know that these are the same creatures. Like you said, it not only do they look the same, but yeah, their movements, the sounds that they make, like the clickers, that's all the same. And the blindness, like, that's a big thing too, is the fact that this fungus that has taken over this forest, it gets in your eyes and it blinds you, is one of the things. And that's the exact same thing that happens in The Last of Us. So while these similarities are undeniable, I didn't really knock it points for that. I mean, I certainly was critical of it. Like, I pointed it out, but I was able to sort of separate, like, the fact that it was, so similar. I was kind of able to separate it out and sort of just look at this. But like you said, like, those creatures aren't in large, they're not in it a ton. So, all of the other stuff, like the little the fungi that's like growing out of you when you get infected, and all of the like crazy roots growing everywhere and all of that. It's kind of able to look at all of that stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's ultimately what disappoints me with this movie overall. Is like, even if I'm able to get past the just absolute cribbing of ideas from other things, it's that it has a pretty interesting premise. The setup is nice, where she gets injured by these survivalists. Inadvertently, one of their trap injures her, and then she comes to find that there's these creatures in the forest that. But so much of this is that, like, that's just kind of pushed to the side, and it becomes this weird thing about her wanting to help the teenage son, or like 20, I don't know how old he is, but like that becomes her main focus, is like getting him out of there. And I was just not really interested in that at all, because it really didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I mean that was one of the biggest criticisms I had with this movie, was that so like you said, the survivalists, they sort of fix her up, and this place is weird, man. Like, she knows about the creatures, she knows about the fungus, that it infects you, all of this stuff, and they fix her foot in like one night. Like they put this stuff on it and it heals it like right away. So she can actually just leave, and they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna take you out of here tomorrow, just so you know." And then she decides to stay, and she's like, it makes it her mission to save this kid, and it makes absolutely no sense. I don't think anybody would do this in real life, like make this decision, aside from her just being like, "Hey, you should let him leave and like come with me," and then like talking to him about it, like, "Hey, you can leave with me if you want. Like, I'm leaving regardless. You can come with me if you want." And then I think that that's significant, like, or that's sufficient. She did her part in trying to get this kid out of here. She gave him an out, but but eventually I don't think this is a big spoiler or anything, but she's just like, "Yeah, I'm staying." She just decides that, like, "Oh, that's it. I'm gonna stay here," and it's so weird. And I kind of, I tried to rationalize that decision with the fact that by this point she's infected. Like, her mind is being turned to mush by the Mother Nature, whatever you want to call it, the fungal infection that's spreading out throughout this whole forest. So she's just not even like with it. She's not at her full mental capacity, I would say. But
it's still just odd.
It's enough. Like, she's cognizant enough. Like, she's lucid enough to know what's going on. Because the thing is, like, the other kind of issue I have with this movie is there's tons of these like nightmare sequences, like dream sequences, where there'll be this crazy visual that happens, and then her waking up, and she's like back into reality.
And there's, of course, the double, the old dream within
there is
a dream.
Double, yeah. It's way overused in this. Yes. Like, the visual, the thing is, like, the thing that kind of makes up for it is the fact that they're all relatively short, and they all include like really cool visuals when like the roots are coming out of her ear and stuff. It's like there's some really crazy, gross shit that happens in this movie.
I think that a huge bonus for this movie is just the location itself.
Oh yeah,
like, this is, I mean, the greens in this movie, my goodness.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that really saves this movie for me is the location, the visuals, the sound. Like, just you can hear every little, like, smush and like wet, like sloppy, like moss and mud, and like every little twig and branch breaking and leaves, and like you can hear all the roots growing, and it's such a gross movie. But the whole time I'm watching it, I'm just like, man, like, some people talk about actors and how they have like their lives are just so easy, they just don't have to do any work, and they just show up on set and blah blah blah. And you see these, show them this movie and be like, look at what these people had to go through. I mean, I didn't see any behind the scenes stuff, but this did not look like an easy shoot to me.
No, it did, and it doesn't look like a fun shoot. Like it can't be.
No, just the fact that they're covered in muck and grime. Yeah, I think if you get squeamish easily, like if stuff grosses you out, this might not be the best movie to look into. I think it's a pretty gross. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I thought it was pretty gross. I don't know. Did you find this movie to be pretty gross?
A little bit. I think the noises got me a little bit because I have that thing where noises just kind of irritate me a little bit, which I wonder if that played into it too. That I'm just like the squishing and stuff, and it's just like, it put me on that. I was operating from that plane of just being slightly irritated because it's so goddamn much squishing.
Mm-hmm. And
stop with the squishing.
And then they show like close-ups of things like decomposing and like moss, like the fungus like growing and roots. Lots of like root growing and stuff. I think that some people find that to be kind of gross, like seeing these like roots branch off. And
I do have to say, I liked what they did with like all the various fungus and mushrooms growing on things.
It looked
good.
It looked really good. And like when they showed the one guy who gets infected and they take him over, like just the makeup effects, like the makeup work in this movie is just incredible.
Because they could have taken the easy way out and just had like one variety of fungus, like one species of fungus overtake. No, they're just like, okay, we're going to do like anything that we can think of, various different colors, various different shapes, all in one organism. We're going to go to town. It's going to be like 42 different fungi on here. So I appreciated that.
I also liked the way it looked when the fungus started growing out of you, like when it's on her arms and legs.
The little barnacles.
Yeah, because it looks so real. Because they did it, it's super close up, right? So like she wakes up and she has these things like growing out of her arms, and they pull way in. So I mean, you see it in extreme detail, and she's pulling them off of her like they're like leeches or like you said barnacles or something, and it just looks very organic, good. Very real.
Yeah.
Very very creepy.
Yeah, I think, and that's the thing that disappoints me is, I think you have the creativity and the ingenuity to pull this off with a lower budget, and you have the idea there, but then so much of this runtime is devoted to her making this decision of like, I got to get this kid out of here. Mind you, the other thing that kind of bothered me about this angle is, like, the kid never really seemed like he wanted to leave, or like he didn't like it there. This was something that she just kind of decided on her own. Like, I need to get you out of here.
Yeah.
And then just the fact that there's that weird sexual energy coming from him, because of course he's like never been around a woman. So I just don't see her being, open to this idea of like spending a ton of time with him. I don't know.
Well, it seems like she does kind of start to have an interest in him, like physically, which is weird because again, it's not determined how old he is, but she acts like he's like significantly younger than her, like he's a kid, and she's looking to save this kid. But then at the same time, there's this like weird attraction. There's like this underlying kind of sexual energy to this whole movie where
it's just weird.
Everybody just wants to fuck the forest, like fuck those tree holes and everything. Which
does happen, which is another thing that I thought was kind of dumb in terms of like the drug trip, which of course just devolves into, people having sex with the forest floor or people having sex with each other. And it's just like, oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. I don't know. I probably could have done without that too. But One of the things that bothered me was like I felt like this character was she she's one of these characters that like, well, never mind. I don't want to get into it. She kind of bothered me just in the fact that it seemed like everyone around her was suffering because of her stupid actions. You know, like why didn't she if she just left, like if she just didn't bother trying to go after her drone in the first place.
Yeah,
I feel like every decision that she makes is like very like foolhardy. Like she wants to do good, but she doesn't really like these people know this forest. And she knows that there are creatures out there that are ready to kill you. And they tell her like, "Oh, don't go over there. That's where they live." And then she just goes over there. Like come on. Like she's a frustrating character at times.
which is you can, with all that knowledge, it does give it that weird racial angle where the two white guys are the ones that commune with nature and know the forest. And if you would just take their lead, which is, historically not been true.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that there was that was intended.
No, I think that was just inadvertent. Like
Yeah.
they didn't realize that until it's too late. The movie's made and then it's like, oh, you know what? You could read it that way. It makes it a little bit bizarre.
Yeah. Whereas, like, yeah, the messaging behind this is a little, iffy. Where you have like the main guy, the main survivalist guy, he's a scientist, so he's an educated man, but presumably he went a little wacky after his wife died and like rebelled against humanity. I guess he probably unconsciously blamed humanity for making his wife sick or something. So he is siding with the nature to take over and reclaim the earth, as it were.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I just want to know where they kept getting clothes. Where did he keep coming across all this burlap?
Yeah, they
Why
got
does he have so much burlap?
because she gets a burlap shirt.
They have clothes for her.
Yeah, maybe they're kind of weaved, so maybe they weave them somehow.
I don't know.
Something. It's like netting. I don't know. I mean, I've thought about the logistics of this living arrangement, several times, like how all that works, but it didn't seem like they had it seemed like they were just eating meat, pure protein.
Yeah.
Grubs.
Which seemed to be working okay for one of them. The other one, not so much.
He was. So I guess that's a good segue into the performances. I thought that all the performances were pretty solid on this. The main dude, Baron, played by Carol Nell, he does such a good job, but holy crap. Oh my God. He was so skinny, like disturbingly skinny. He's like a skeleton man.
Yeah. That was a bit difficult for me too. It was off-putting. I was really concerned for him.
Everything. Well, I mean, I think that this is a movie that is like very intentionally off-putting.
Yes.
But at the same time, visually very, very arresting. I really liked the visuals in this. And in fact, ultimately, I gave this a positive review, even though I did have some issues with the plot. I think the other elements made up for it for me. So let's go ahead and give it a score. Now, my initial score when I saw this at South by was a 7 out of 10. I think that seeing it again, discussing it with you, I probably would drop it down a bit, but because I have that review published, I'll keep it as is.
Yeah, you got it's locked in, buddy. There's nothing you can do.
I'm fine with that.
You're locked in. It was tough for me to get over because all I could think of is this was born out of him playing The Last of Us and then reading those articles about how trees communicate with each other through fungus. And I feel like he just took those two things. Like that was the thing that was going on in his life, the writer of this film at the time. And that's what he came
Well,
up with.
what I
So
kind of
just
what I kind of
what?
hope is that because they're making the Last of Us show right now,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and so what I'm hoping
That's right.
is the people in the art department see this and they're like, "Hey, they
Hey,
figured it out. Let's copy them." Full circle.
there you go. So man, I want to go like a 5.5. Well, 5. I'm gonna go 5.
All right,
I'm
straight down
being
the middle
too
on this one.
I'm being too nice. I just wish it wasn't so focused on the whole. I gotta get this kid out of here because like that's
But the thing
she just
is,
keeps trying to do it and she's not doing a good job of accomplishing this
the,
goal.
the thing is though, that even that is so nuanced because she's not like trying that hard. Like most
Yeah,
of the time is just them like kind of living their
just
life.
hanging out.
Yeah. And her having like falling asleep, having a vision, waking up, dealing with some fungus, falling asleep, vision, fungus. It's like she's trying to make this plan, and then there's like the whole thing with like the phone and all of that. But
Yeah,
yeah, I still think. I mean, it's definitely a memorable experience. I think. I mean, it's not a movie that like when I rewatched it. You know, a lot of these movies, I see so many of these movies that they, as soon as I'm done with them, like a couple days later, they just leave my brain. And this is one that I've remembered pretty much beat for beat. So it's certainly one that's going to stick with you, I think.
see, remains to be seen.
Mm-hmm. 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 All right, let's move on and talk about some of what we've been watching. Kevin, I believe it is your turn this week.
My turn, and I only have one this week, so this will be relatively short segment for me. I saw Jake Mahaffey's Reunion. This is pretty much available on like all streaming platforms. I've realized, like it's on Amazon Prime, it's on Shudder, it's everywhere. They want you to see this movie. They're putting it out there. Pretty straightforward in terms of like the setup. A pregnant woman, she returns to her grandparents, like the family home. It's this big fucking house, this old style house, just incredible. And she's coming back and she just wants to sell the thing, get it over with. She's working on a book. She's an academic and she's working on a book about like black magic and stuff, like the history of it and how it led to like real science. Well, when she gets to the house, her mother's there with their father, and like they're estranged. They haven't seen each other for a while, and you know it's tense, very tense. And you know it just kind of plays out like your normal like haunted house. When she lived there, there was her sister, and you know she keeps seeing her. And this is the thing that kind of bothered me is like there are so many like her having visions of the past and like her remembering stuff from the past like periodically throughout the movie, and it just i I couldn't get into it. Now I did appreciate where they took it at the end because it is different. It has a different ending, so I'll give it that. Bonus points for taking a fresh approach, but at the same time it all kind of comes like just in like a dump at the end. Just just cram everything in at the end. We don't really explain too much, which kind of makes sense because you're kind of put in the position of the woman learning everything. So some of it doesn't make sense, obviously, but it just felt a little bit rushed at the end. The way that they kind of tied everything up, that I could have used a little bit more.
Mm.
But I mean, it's all right. It's decent. The only thing is the camera work and stuff. There's a lot of because it deals with black magic and alchemy. There's so many shots of like a somewhat red clear liquid, and you're dropping some black ink into it.
Ooh.
Just super close up. That oh man, look at the effects of that liquid. Oh boy, oh boy.
Okay.
Stuff getting injected to stuff, flushed, infused. that kind of thing. Like they do that a lot. And it's just like, I get it. This is experimental. I understand. Calm it down. Dial it back a little bit, you know?
All right. I was wrapping things up with Tribeca this week, so I have a couple from that I can mention. The first one is called All My Friends Hate Me. This is it's an awkward, dark comedy directed by Andrew Gaynard. It's about a guy who hasn't seen his best friends from college in like years and years, and it's his birthday coming up, and they invite him for a party at this like super posh manor that one of his friend's parents own. So he goes there, and things like kind of seem a little weird, and he becomes increasingly paranoid that like there's something weird going on with his friends. Like they may have some kind of ulterior motive, or maybe they're out to get him. And the thing is, like, if you're into really like super awkward kind of cringe comedy, this is definitely fits that bill. Like it is very uncomfortable comedy. It's good. Like it's awkward in a good way for the most part. But if you're into like, especially like the British like cringe comedy, like that's what this is for sure. The problem is where the story goes is just not interesting or compelling whatsoever. Like I didn't care about the main guy. Like I didn't give a shit if these friends were out to get him or not. Couldn't really care less because he's awful. His friends are awful. They're all stupid and idiots, and I really didn't care what happened to any of them. They're all shitbags. So, frankly, I had no skin in the game. So when there was like the reveal at the end, I was just like, all right, well, that's it. Okay, no big deal. This is really underwhelming. So, can't really recommend All My Friends Hate Me. I like that title, though. I saw Poser. This is directed by Ori Segev and Noah Dixon. This is a drama about a young woman living in Columbus, Ohio, and she decides that she wants to cover the indie music scene in Columbus, because apparently Columbus has a really thriving art scene.
Mm-hmm.
And she wants to make a podcast. So she decides, hey, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make a podcast and interview artists and bands and become more attuned with the art scene. And what she does is she ends up befriending one of a local artist. I think her name's Bobby Kitten. And she is an actual Columbus artist. In fact, everybody in this, like all the bands and stuff, they all play themselves. Oh. And it turns out that she's like, what she's doing is she's sort of like copying, like writing down all of their ideas and writing their lyrics down to like songs they're working on as she's interviewing them. And then she's kind of like creating a persona for herself, but she's like basically just plagiarizing everyone else's thoughts and ideas. So she's like essentially not really coming up with her own thoughts, opinions, ideas, creative endeavors, but she's just stealing everybody else's, hence the title. And people eventually find out, and it's no good for her. It's good. I would give it a light recommend. The last one I'll mention is called How It Ends, and this is directed by Zoe Lister-Jones and Daryl Ween. I don't know how I feel about this one because it was shot during the pandemic. It is a comedy that takes place on the last day on Earth. So in this movie, there is a comet that is headed towards Earth, and everybody knows that this is it. Like this is the last day before it hits and kills everybody. So Zoe Lister-Jones plays a young woman in LA who she's going to a party later in the evening, and she just decides to, somebody steals her car, so she decides to walk around and meet up with all of the people in her life who she basically say goodbye to everybody. So she makes amends with people who she was on the outs with. She talks to her dad and her mom. There's a lot of people in this, like Finn Wolfhard, Nick Kroll, Whitney Cummings, and Bobby Lee, Fred Armisen, Glenn Howerton, Olivia Wilde. There's just tons and tons of people in this. And really what it boils down to is these like little kind of tiny segments of interactions between Zoe Lister-Jones' character and this other person that she goes to see. So it's kind of shot very segmented because, again, this was during the pandemic. They're all like distanced from one another, like during the interaction. So everybody's kind of far away. And I mean, props to them for making it work. But the problem I had with this movie is I really hated it. I didn't find it funny at all. And for whatever reason, like a lot of the interactions just really got underneath my skin. Like I just did not like any of the like topics that they were talking about. Just none of it worked for me, even in the slightest bit. And I like Zoe Lister-Jones. So I was really disappointed with like how I felt about it. But like the whole kind of shtick here is that her younger self is following her around, and her younger self is played by Kaylee Spaney. And so there's this other dynamic where all of a sudden, because it's like the end of the world, everybody's like younger selves are like become like manifested. So you can everybody can see each other's younger selves and they can communicate with them and stuff. Like Fred Armisen is the younger self of this like 90-year-old man. And they have just these like kind of one-off conversations. Some of them are mildly humorous. Some of them are just pointless and boring. It just, nothing really gelled for me with this one. I actually really hated it. So sorry to say, but I can't recommend how it ends. It was a kind of a cool experiment, but just nothing that really worked for me, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was not expecting that. Like your build up there, I just expected you to be like, yeah, not my cup of tea. But man, you hit me out of nowhere with that.
I turned it off at one point because I was like, this is so, I just can't stand this right now. But then I was like, you know what? No, I'm like halfway through it. I'm just going to see it through to the end, just see what happens. So I stuck it out to the end, but man, it was just a slog, man. I don't know why, but I just could not get into it. I just didn't find any of it to be even remotely entertaining.
No,
despite the huge number of great people in it.
Yeah, and I don't know. Like you telling me the basic premise of this sounds just insufferable. And then you tell me like a huge cast like that, and it just, feels like a bunch of famous people.
It really, yeah. At the end of the day, I think that's what it was. I think that it was just like, I was kind of feeling like, oh, this is just a bunch of LA actors who maybe they all live in the same neighborhood. I don't even know, but they just decided, you know what? We're stuck inside. It's quarantine. Let's just do something. Let's just do a project.
Yeah.
Keep busy. And it feels so LA, and I think that maybe part of it is intentional. Like it is very intentionally that kind of like poking fun of LA culture, but at the same time, to me it just feeds into the LA stereotypes, and I did not enjoy it.
Yeah, it just sounds like that they probably had a great time.
Yeah,
but
it seemed like it was probably like a lot of friends, making, like Glenn Howerton is in it, and then Charlie Day's in it too, and sorry, I can't remember her name, but she's also in, she plays the waitress in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I can't remember her name, but Charlie Day and her play a married couple. Are they together in real life?
Yes.
Yeah, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so. But anyway,
Yeah.
they're in it playing a married couple, and they're like all drugged out. They're high on something, and it just doesn't really work. Didn't work for me.
No, thank you.
Yeah, you would hate. Oh my god, you would hate it. You would find it absolutely insufferable.
I'm just knowing what I know now. I hate it. I feel bad that I hate it because I haven't watched it, but I know myself and I believe in myself.
Yeah.
Okay. And I just know that I'm right and I hate it.
Yeah. You would definitely hate it. There's some stuff where I'm like, I don't know if Kevin would like it or not. But this, you would hate. It is like the whole younger self thing. Like it gets so self-serious at the end too. Like when she has to confront her younger self. Because there's like there's like this whole angle where like she's like constantly fighting with her younger self and like trying to be happy and trying to be fulfilled, and she like had this like great relationship with this guy, but when it got too serious she got scared and she pushed him away, and it's just so there's this whole thing where she's like trying to see him one last time and just tell him that she loves him, and it's just did not like it. Just on the nose, like metaphors, and just can't remember. All right, let's take a look at what we have in theaters this week. Just two of note. Zola is going to be hitting limited release on June 30th. I really want to see this.
A limited release coming back.
Yeah. Yep.
We're going to keep that tradition, huh?
I guess so. Either way, why wouldn't they release this on VOD at the same time? Like, come on. It's A24 is so stuck up sometimes, I swear.
It's weird, though, because there's certain movies that they will do.
Yeah, like ones that they think are deemed worthy enough only get a theatrical release, when I think that it just doesn't make a lot of sense. I think that this movie specifically would do really well being released in theaters and on VOD.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know. Either way, I really want to see that. We also have The Forever Purge, which is coming out on July 2nd. So this is the new Purge movie.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Doesn't I don't know. For whatever reason, this one just does not. Because the whole concept of this one gets rid of the idea of the purge. Like the Forever Purge. It's just like, okay, we're eliminating the core concept of the purge, where one day a year people can do whatever they want and there's no, like, everything is legal. But in the Forever Purge, it's just like everything is legal all the time. I don't know. I'll probably watch it. I'll watch it at some point anyway. On VOD this week, on the 29th, we have The Legend of the Underground. That's going to be on HBO Max. We have Rain Falls, which is also on the 29th. On July 1st, we have No Sudden Move, which is going to be on HBO Max. I really want to see that. That's the Soderbergh.
Oh, yeah.
That'll probably be next week's movie, actually. It's one with Don Cheadle.
Ooh. Oh, yeah, it's going to be
Really excited about that, actually. We got Let Us In. Wait, what is... Yeah, second, okay. We got Werewolves Within. That was decent. We got Scenes from an Empty Church. That's the new owner, Tuchel.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see the trailer for that yet?
No, I have not watched it yet.
I implore you to watch the trailer.
Yeah.
And let me know. Because I'm sure the movie's good. It looks like it could very well be good. But the trailer's makes it look super cheesy.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Which is weird, because that's not what you expect.
Yeah. It looks really cheesy. And I'm sure it's just the trailer, but yeah. We have Long Story Short, First Date, The Tomorrow War. That's going to be on Amazon Prime. That's the sci-fi one with Chris Pratt. Summer of Soul. That's the Questlove directed documentary.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of into that one too. Man, lots of stuff this week. We got The God Committee also coming out. That's the one with Kelsey Grammer. Looks kind of interesting. It's about a a hospital where an organ transplant committee must convene within 1 hour to decide which of 3 patients deserves a life-saving heart.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So tricky choices there. Tricky decisions.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So yeah, lots of stuff on VOD this week. Holy cow. Really good stuff coming out. Blu-ray. We got Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory coming out in 4K. Got Major Dundee from 1965. That's going to be on Arrow. Limited edition. Walking the Edge from 1985. And Memories from 1995. I think that's an anime. In Harm's Way from 1965. The General's Daughter from 1999. The Leather Boys from 1964. That's going to be an AGFA release. Battle Beyond the Stars from 1980. That looks like it's getting a Steelbook edition. Let's see what else we got here. She Done Him Wrong, starring Mae West from 1933. Delirium from 1987. His Adoration from 2019. Just a Gigolo from 1978. Night After Night from 1932. It looks like there's a lot of Mae West stuff coming out. So we have Night After Night, Go West Young Man, Belle of the 90s, Klondike Annie, Every Day's a Holiday, Going to Town, Mad About Music, Nice Girl, That Certain Age. I think those are all Mae West, I think. I could be wrong about maybe one or two of those, but looks like pretty much all of Mae West's stuff is coming out on Blu-ray.
All right. Interesting.
AGFA is also releasing Treasure of the Ninja and the films of William Lee.
Slap that into the old computer.
Treasure of the Ninja, hell yeah. Here Are the Young Men, Stardust, King of the Hill from 1993. Oh, sorry, that's a Criterion.
Is it?
Yeah. It looks like maybe a bunch of Criterions are getting re-released, or maybe they're coming out on Blu-ray for the first time.
Perhaps. There's only 2 listed on there.
On Blu-ray.com, there's a whole shitload listed, like George Washington, Francis Ha, Breaking the Waves, Love Streams.
Okay.
I don't know if that's correct or not, but I don't know. Maybe they're just re-releases. I mean, I know most of those were already out on Criterion, but maybe they're new to Blu-ray. I don't think George Washington was converted over to Blu-ray.
Yeah, you might be right.
What are the 2 that you have on your list as far as Criterions?
I have Dee Reese's Pariah coming out, and then Samuel Fuller's Pickup on South Street from 1953.
Nice. Kind of interested in that, actually.
Oh, it's a film noir classic.
Yeah. I've kind of wanted to see that for a while, just never got around to it.
Well, now's your week.
Yeah.
This is it. Make it happen.
I like the cover, too.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this week. Lots of stuff, man. I'm pretty excited for this week. Thank you so much for listening. You can send us your questions and topics to podcast@filmpulse.net. You can follow us on Twitter @filmpulse.net and @filmpulsekevin. And if you have a minute, consider reviewing us on your podcast platform of choice. For Kevin Rakestraw, my name's Adam Patterson. We'll see you next week.